Welcome, everyone. This is the Rad Gaming Podcast. I'm Pescador.
And I'm Jemshi. And in this episode of the podcast, we're going to be going over Resident Evil 2, the remake, and the horror genre in general.
Also in this episode, we're going to go over new Easter eggs in WoW, an announcement made by Steam that could possibly turn it around for them, and also a female gamer that had a mishap with an esports team.
Alright, so let's just get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rad Gaming Podcast, your great spot for all your streaming needs, gaming, and even esports. Starring your hosts, the one and only Pescador and Jemshi.
So, Pescador, are you going to get Resident Evil 2, the remake?
I actually want to. I've been a huge Resident Evil fan. I haven't got many of them. I never really purchased them in the past, but I saw that IGN did a review on it, and they gave it an 8.8. And I've read a few other articles that say that it's supposed to pave the way for remakes. So I'm actually really considering getting this one. I have other ones, but I just don't have like all of them in a row. You know, like I don't have Code Veronica and I don't have Resident Evil 3 and I don't have them all. I have some. Let's put it that way. But I know you don't have any. So
right, I'm not really following the series as much, just because I'm not very much a horror fan, games or movies.
No, what
or even haunted houses.
You were talking to me, and you were saying that the last one you saw was Paranormal Activity, right?
Right. That's actually, I want to say that's the only horror movie that I've ever seen. I'm not sure if A Quiet Place really counts, because like I like to think that like horror movies. I think it's
thriller, isn't it?
Right. I think it's kind of more of a thriller, but for me, I think what pushes it over the edge and what makes it scary for me is the fact that it's rated R. Which kind of like gives me that feeling where it's like there is no limit to what can happen right now in this movie. Like they're like, you know what I'm saying? They're not going to hold back. Like there might be some limits, but like just that I am not very good at dealing with scary. And I think
you played some horror games, right? I mean, you didn't you play Amnesia or Outlast or something like that?
No, I have not played. I've played what's the one that was popular back in like 2012?
That's like every
Slenderman. That's right.
Slenderman. Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Dang.
Right. So that's.
Believe it or not, I have not played that. You almost broke your laptop. Tell me about that.
I was that scared because I was on my bed. This was like in college, so like everyone was playing the game, and they're like, "You guys go in your room."
What were you doing with the laptop on your bed, there, Jimshi?
Playing Slenderman.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so like they're like, you got to get in your room, turn the lights off, and it was like, so I just had like the laptop like just sitting there playing the game on my bed because I didn't really have like a good desk or anything to like play on. So I was playing, and then like I got the the Slenderman came up behind me, and I like you turn around and then like you see him there, and then like the like static or whatever. And it like freaked me out so badly that I accidentally just tossed my laptop onto the floor. And then instantly I got even more scared that I just broke my laptop because I was like, well, now I can't do anything for school.
Dude, we need to do a thing. That
luckily it was okay.
If we reach a certain amount of viewers or something like that, or subscribers or something, we need to set a goal that you need to live stream you playing some horror game like for at least an hour and a half. That has to happen.
Sounds like forever. Because I know that the Slenderman game, that was probably only like 10 minutes, and I was done.
No, so that's what I'm saying. It has to be. I want it to happen. Like if we hit us, like we need to make this a thing. It needs to happen.
Find a certain milestone.
Yeah. We got to give back to the viewers and the subscribers by letting them watch Jemshi scream on the top of his lungs, bloody murder. I want to see it. I want to see it so bad.
I'm sure it's not pretty.
I beg to differ. I think it's going to be art.
Maybe we can play Resident Evil 2. Is it a multiplayer, or is that a different game I'm thinking of?
No, I don't know if Resident Evil 2 the remake is.
Oh, was it?
If they're going to stick, if they're going, yeah, Left 4 Dead like is an awesome multiplayer game, but
right, it's like a co-op or something.
I think that to be honest, I didn't really read into too much of Resident Evil 2. It might be a co-op game, but I know other Resident Evil games were co-op games, which is kind of cool. But they might stick to the guns of the old school games, so that was just single player. So I don't know. Not really.
I'm gonna look it up and see if they've got 2 multiplayer in there.
Do it.
Every game's got multiplayer now, unless it's a story-driven game. Is it a story-driven?
Oh, yeah, of course it is. You know, the Umbrella Corporation, you know, and they're all messed up and doing their damnedest to mess with people.
It's a single-player game, which is even worse. Because if I were playing a co-op game with you, I'd have like at least a little bit of comfort.
Just a little bit, on that little blanket, you know, your little whoopee.
Right.
Which brings me to my next question. Did you ever have a whoopee when you're growing up?
A what?
A whoopee. That's what people call things. I never had one, but apparently my fiance was, and she's going to kill me when I say that, but she had a whoopee growing up. Like, I don't know. It's not,
explain that.
It's not her technical term, but I know that people call things that they're like, she had a thing called a pigsley, and what it is like a pig, and she cuddled with it every night. So whoopee, people call whoopies like they're like safety blanket. They're like, you know, thing that they needed to have, like a blanket in general.
Okay.
Or did you have something?
I don't. It was apparently when I was so young. I don't recollect this even being like ever happening. But my parents always told me that I'd always have like a stuffed Barney, not one but two. 2 stuffed Barneys that I have under each arm everywhere I went.
Oh my god! Please tell me you have pictures of these. I need to see them.
I think there might have been. I don't know. But apparently, like, when I was young and, so, like, I think I was, like, 2.5 to, like, 3, I was, in, like, the bathroom and I slipped and fell and, like, hit my face on the side of the tub.
Oh, dang.
So I had to get, like, one of my front teeth pulled. And apparently what got me through that was the 2 stuffed Barneys. Because they were like, oh, yeah, we went to the dentist. And then, sure enough, you just walked out and you were fine because we handed you the Barneys and you were just like, okay.
Oh, that brings me to my next point. Do you remember, like, Cartoon Network growing up? Like Toonami and all that awesome things that was on Cartoon Network? Do you remember? I used to watch Dragon Ball Z like a fiend. Like, I absolutely loved Dragon Ball Z. What did you watch in that?
See, I watched Dragon Ball Z when it got because I watched a little bit, and then, like, I wasn't, like, that into it right at the time, but, like, when it got rebooted onto WB for Kids, or whatever it's called now, that's when I watched it, like, every episode religiously, and then I think I just watched it on my own, because I found the internet existed, and I could just start watching it online.
I did that with Rick and Morty. There was a website that I went on, and, like, I didn't watch the first few seasons of Rick and Morty, but I binge watched all the episodes of Rick and Morty all at once, and I absolutely love that show. That show is awesome.
That's actually the only show that I would say that I'm actually up to date on every episode that is out. Usually, that's, like, surprising for me, because I actually haven't, like, I have a problem with TV shows where I can't commit. Like, I'll watch maybe the first season, like, religiously. Like, I will watch them back to back. Like, binge watching. I'll admit I do that. But I'll binge watch it for maybe a week, and then after that, I'm done. I can't watch anymore.
Have you ever watched Game of Thrones? Because I know the teaser came out not too long ago, and I didn't really show too much. It showed Jon Snow, Sansa, and Arya all, like, in a tomb together, and they saw their own statues.
I haven't watched it, so I'm not sure.
I'm trying to figure out the right way to technically turn, because I don't know if they're graves or what, but what ended up happening was it started getting cold in that area, which means, you know, could be White Walkers coming in, the king of the White Walkers, you know. I'm real excited about it. I'm really, really pumped. I believe it comes out in April, but I don't know if you can see, obviously, already. I have the flag of Stark's flying through right now, but I mean, that show is awesome. My fiance can't get into it, but I absolutely love that show. It's a great.
That's what I'm also afraid of, is that I feel like if I were to watch a show like Game of Thrones, like, I'm not saying that I'm not going to get into it. I'm just afraid that I'll get so into it that I won't have time to do anything else but watch the show.
That's a lot of hours. Every episode is an hour. and there's a lot of detail. So it's something you can't just turn on and cook or, do other things. You have to pay attention. Otherwise you get lost later on because there's so many storylines. Like you have to watch and really pay attention, because they all intertwine in some way, shape, or form. But like some parts are so tiny at the beginning, but they really blossom come like later on in the episodes. Like it's actually really crazy. Like Littlefinger he was kind of like a character that really didn't have that much of a say in any of the other episodes in the beginning. But as time went on, he became a major character in the show, and it was awesome. Like I didn't like him, obviously, but that's the point. The point is, like, there's so many people that had like small parts, and then they became, so much bigger, and they stood for something. It's so neat to see the character change over time. I really love that show. It's really well written.
No, see, I think I'm more of a fan of like the comedy. Like that's why I like Rick and Morty and like Bob's Burgers. And
I've never seen Bob's Burgers, but I do enjoy me some Archer. I'll be honest with that. I love Archer.
I haven't seen Archer. I think I'm just very.
I don't like the new episodes of the Archer. I'm not gonna lie. I like the older ones.
I think now that I think about it, I haven't ever watched a show on my own. It's always been somebody had to sit me down and watch an episode with them, and then I was like, "Hey, this is pretty good."
Sit you down. You sit and watch this Jemshi. No, you watch Zoids or something like that. I loved Zoids. Are you kidding me? Did you ever watch Digimon? I used to watch Digimon.
No.
I watch Digimon more than I watch Pokemon, which is really strange, but I do enjoy me some Pokemon. No, I like Digimon. Digimon were, when I was a kid, that was awesome. I mean, that stuff is cool.
Yeah, I think it was just like I never knew when it was on, so I never was able to like watch it,
Yeah.
Like I knew when Pokemon came on, because that was like, I had like a lot more siblings that were just like, Pokemon was the thing. So like, if it was, Digimon was like, oh.
You had to have watched Gundam Wing, because I see a character on your shelf back there. Come on.
Yeah, I think I've watched it, but I have, honestly, if you asked me what it was about, I couldn't tell you.
Get out of here, man. You can't have that on your shelf if you don't know what it's about.
When I got this, I was into it. And now that
Yeah, I'm sure you're really into it, man. I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z in actually probably about 2 years. Actually, no, I lied.
For me, it's got
probably
like
about
close to like
6 months. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big Dragon Ball Z nerd, dude. I absolutely love Vegeta. He's my favorite character, hands down. It's because like Goku, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people are gonna hate me for saying this, but Goku he's an awesome fighter. He has all this potential, and he like barely he trains. Don't get me wrong. But Vegeta pushes himself day in and day out to become the best at what he can do. And as soon as he catches up to Goku surpasses him with like barely any effort. And it just makes me so sad. I'm like, damn, dude, like it hurts me deep inside to see like Vegeta being like, damn you, Kakarot, like he's just he's so upset every episode because he can't surpass Goku. Like, and that's what drives me. But like, Vegeta is such a fierce opponent, but like every one of them has flaws. But I think my favorite episode was the Majin Buu episode in which Vegeta got taken over, and he sacrificed himself and knocked out his son Trunks, and basically said, I love you, and then knocked him clean out because like he's never said he loved you to his son, and it just blew my mind, and I was like, What did I just see? You mean Vegeta was actually being an awesome dad for once? Minus him knocking out his son, but that's not the point. The point is he loved him. That's why he knocked him out, okay? But no, I absolutely love Dragon Ball Z. I'll go on for days about Dragon Ball Z. Have you ever seen any of the Marvel movies, since we're talking about movies?
I have seen the Marvel movies.
Which ones?
I'm just very bad at watching movies and TV shows in general. But
Why?
I've seen.
Why? I love watching.
I think I've just got movied out when I was a kid because I think it was like.
Oh, every kid goes through a movie. Get out of here with that crap. Give me a better excuse.
I think I just finally. I don't know. Maybe I liked YouTube more.
Oh, I know that's an acceptable answer, I guess.
I think I moved to YouTube, which is like similar.
Is it really though?
TV. I don't know.
Because you don't get plots, you don't get story. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love YouTube, but I mean, movies just have so much more fulfillment. There's like start and there's closure to what happens in them. And a lot of times in YouTube clips, you just like watch something, you're just like, okay.
Have you ever seen Freddie W back in the day, like 2011,
yes,
2012, Freddie W?
Yes.
That was like my like pinnacle of like YouTube back then, like that Niga Higa. Oh, who else was I watched Smosh a little bit back then.
I did watch Smosh. Yeah, I loved it. In the beginning of the episodes, I'm like, shut up!
Right.
I love that part. But
I think my favorite was the one where they found Anthony had to go to the bathroom and he got his T-shirt stuck in the door. I don't know have you seen that one?
No, I don't believe I have actually, but it sounds hilarious.
He got stuck in the bathroom.
Snuck? You got snuck in the bathroom? How's that happen?
Yeah, I got stuck because it was like a what are they called? I can't even think of it now. Like a Johnny on the spot, just like a kind of like those porta potties, right? One of those. So he was like in one of those, and his
Johnny on the spot. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, so he got his shirt stuck in the door, and he couldn't get out, and he was like basically like days were going by, and then Ian was just sitting in the car, just like waiting for him, like, he's taking a little bit longer than usual, but okay, like I'll just plug in my learning German tapes, and. So Anthony's just in there and like he's starving and he looks inside like the toilet and he's like he's so crazy because he's been like in there for so long that it starts looking like a hamburger. He's just like I'm so hungry I could eat. I don't know.
No, they were very creative with their stuff and I really did like Smosh. I'm not gonna lie. But the whole point of me asking you was because Marvel in general, obviously Stan Lee has passed away. But WoW did something really awesome recently. They actually paid homage or homage or whatever you want to call it. They paid homage to Stan Lee. And the way they did that was they created a character in Stormwind, and they actually have him walking around. And basically, he goes around the town. He has the traditional Stan Lee mustache and white-colored hair. And he basically says his like famous catchphrase, Excelsior, to everyone he sees basically in town. So I thought that was really awesome. But they also said that there's a few other Easter eggs that are regarding Stan Lee, and no one's found them yet. So I'm actually excited to see what that is because that's awesome that WoW would even, or Blizzard in general would even consider to do it.
Have they done like Easter eggs in the past? Like,
that
we could try to base this, like guess on. Like I know, like, but is there something we could probably guess, like, as to what it could be for Stan Lee? Like, I'm trying to think, like, if it's just Stan Lee, that like they probably wouldn't have the actual characters of Stan Lee, but I would say that there's probably like
maybe they might have someone in the Horde side that a Marvel character. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, WoW is very good with their Easter eggs. They've had a lot of them in the past, and they've done a really good job of hiding them. Like, they put them in really random locations, and WoW's so huge, the game itself is so huge that it's very tough to kind of narrow down where it would be and try to find it. I mean, it's a big game, and they add so much to it all the time. So I haven't played for a very long time.
My guess is that you'd have to find like some kind of item and interact with him. That's my guess. I don't know,
but I'm really excited to see what it is because I honestly trying to think about it right now what it could be, and I have no idea. But Blizzard does a great job of that kind of stuff, so I'm really excited about it.
Well, something we can talk about next. That's a really bad segue. Let me start over.
He's trying, people. He's trying.
So, segue. So, last week we were talking about Ubisoft. No, we weren't. We were talking about Fortnite or whatever. Okay, so last week we were talking about Epic Games and how they were coming out with the Epic Games Store, which is their rival to Steam.
Yeah.
And how we kind of predicted like this was going to bring a change to the gaming market. And sure enough, we see that Ubisoft actually has a partnership now with Epic Games, and all of their new titles are now going to be released on the Epic Games Store as opposed to being on Steam.
Which is crazy to think.
And I know that they have a couple pre-orders, and I think it's Division 2.
Mm-hmm.
Now like if you've pre-ordered it on Steam, you could still get it, but it's now going to be released exclusively from the Epic Games Store. And this is definitely due to the part that Epic Games Store has only take a 12% cut as opposed to Steam, which takes like a 28% cut or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
maybe close to 30. But I remember it's an insane amount.
I think it was 30% is what Steam does, and Epic. I think you're right about Epic. I'm pretty sure they did that.
Yeah, so I know for sure that I have here that the Epic only takes 12%, and that's pretty much insane. And the fact that this is more to help a lot with the games that are trying to smaller games that when they take such a big cut, they have to get so many sales. Now they can have less sales, And this, I'm honestly excited for this. That if you see big game companies moving over to the Epic Game Store, this is just going to start a new kind of revolution where it's
even with that trend though, Jemshi, I was reading an article actually a little bit ago that was from Fox News, and they were saying that they expect some big corporation, gaming corporation, I think it was Activision, to actually announce that they're going to start doing free-to-play games, which is insane. So they they work on games that are Call of Duty and things like that, which is. Can you imagine Call of Duty being free to play? I mean, that's just insane.
I feel a free to play game of if it's the level of quality that Call of Duty is, I can see that being pretty insane.
Well, they said that comparatively, Fortnite compared to sales that Activision has been making in general, Fortnite obviously has just destroyed every other game out there right now because they have so many active users, and they attribute that to being free. And they said the stocks in general suggest, and obviously the amount of money that they've been making so much off this free-to-play game, they've made so much of it that it makes more sense to do free-to-play games and having microtransactions than it does to come out with a game. You pay 60, 30, whatever price it is, and then having DLC to pay for later on, because they found out that people don't really pay for DLC later on. They just pick the game itself.
Get the core game, and they just kind of play that
exactly.
Until they're done.
So
that's interesting because it kind of brings the question, well, do we want more free to play games, or do we want more solid release games without?
But that's the thing. I think they're going to make a terrible spin-off of it and make it pay to play. So I think what's going to happen is eventually it's not just going to be people, you can unlock new skins, look cool, because I think that game companies are going to get smart enough to say, that makes money, yes, but we need something else that kind of might create a little competition within our game to make people spend a little bit more money. So in my opinion, I think I don't want
if it brings about a pay to win, then that's where I would start getting a little if I don't think Fortnite would have done as well if the microtransactions in the game, with all your V-Bucks, could help you win. I mean, some could argue with a better skin, it helps you do better. Kind of gives you that confidence that hey, I don't know. But if it's legitimately paying to win, that's honestly where I think that the games would fall. And I think it's also where it's paying to get good content, kind of like what EA did with the Battlefront, where you had if you wanted to unlock some of the core characters of the game, it would take you. I don't remember.
But that's what Ubisoft did too with Rainbow Six. If you think, remember I brought the stupid standard edition of that game because I didn't have, I had no idea. It took me seriously so long to get past the original characters of that game, and I just ended up buying it. I was like, screw it. It takes me too long to do it. I don't want any part of it. I think that's what's going to happen eventually to other games, I mean...
Right, because I had the season pass at the time.
I didn't know anything about it.
I unlocked, every character by the time you had unlocked maybe three or four.
Yeah. You had, every single person done at that time, which, I don't want to talk about it.
I guess, there's, that's the pay to play, too, because it's, just to even really play and...
Just to enjoy it, because, there's only so much I can do with 3 freaking characters, I mean, I had Castle, I had Ash, and Ash was awesome, but I see you switching between characters constantly, you're a Tachanka, and you know what I mean? You were just so many different characters that I could not be, and it just, I was so infuriated, because, I only had these characters, they only had certain special abilities, it drove me insane, so I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna pay this money to get the next part of the game, so... maybe that's just how they're going to do it.
Right. And I mean, that's also a good marketing ploy on their side because they can see like, hey, I've got the season pass. I'm playing with you who doesn't. You're going to start seeing that I'm like, am I enjoying the game more? Like, I don't know if I was any better than you just because I played so many different characters all the time.
And maybe that's how Activision's going to do it, man, because if you think about it, Call of Duty has classes. Like, you know what I'm saying? They have special abilities. You know, they have like deep impact and things like that is like a specific, what am I looking for? What's the word? Come on, help me here.
I'm not sure if I know what you're trying to say.
Oh my goodness. Abilities. Why can't I think of the word? Jeez, oh man. They have specific abilities that you can do within Call of Duty that, you know, helps you out with any situation that you're in. You know, I'd switch from back in the good. I don't play Call of Duty anymore. I haven't played in a while, but I switched to Battlefield. I'm not gonna lie, it's more realistic and I like it. But that's not the point. The point is, they used to have abilities that you can switch in between, and they still do now. I know that for a fact. But maybe they do that. Maybe they have certain characters that have certain abilities that you can unlock later on, and maybe you have to pay to unlock them. Or maybe it just takes way too long for you to unlock them, so you might pay a little extra money to get them. Because if the game's free, why wouldn't you spend that extra money to unlock that? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, you've already spent $0, so what's the difference between paying like $5 as opposed to paying $60 for a game?
That's the thing. If you continue, because look at Call of Duty. They come up with a new one almost every year. And if they market it just right, if they do a free-to-play game that stretches maybe 2 years, and every couple months they come out with new characters, and they're very hard to unlock, I mean, you could really stretch that out and be like, oh, right, well, I stopped playing for a couple months. I'm back into Call of Duty. We've been through a year, and they're not making another Call of Duty, and I want to play again. Everyone has all these characters unlocked. I don't want to spend all this time unlocking characters. Let me just throw out some money.
Yeah, the barrier to entry is, like, that brings a good point. Because, like, the barrier to entry to get into those games, if you start late, you've missed, like, all these characters. Like, imagine starting Rainbow Six now, having, you know, just Ash or something like that. And there are more characters than when the game was first originally released.
Yep.
I think they've got a couple more seasons. And, I mean, that kind of brings, like, if you've got it, you have to pay more money to catch back up to play these games. So getting in early, I guess, would be the opportune point.
In the last podcast that was between you and I, we actually talked about the possible demise of Steam. And that was because everyone else was coming out with their version of the mini platform or a way to help distribute games for developers. Steam has actually just made an announcement basically suggesting that...
Is it Half-Life 3?
No, that would be really sick though. I'm really excited about that. But no, they're going to change the way that Steam is being used. And actually, there was a quote that I read that I thought was really awesome. It said that we're working on a new recommendation engine powered by machine learning that can match players to games based on their individual tastes. That's actually sounds pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Right, that's like the Genius for iTunes. Right, where it kind of recommends. So I know with the iTunes, it has like the recommended songs for you, and it will kind of like give you like a little bit of a, like, hey, check out these songs.
Machine learning. What do they mean by machine learning? Like, if you start playing specific types of styles of games, they're gonna be like, I'll top on your page and go, boom, for, you know, look at this game. Everything does that anymore. It doesn't impress me much.
Right. I think it's kind of just like similar to kind of how Google figures out what kind of ads to display for you. They just figure out information about you. I know this has happened to me because I recently got a Vive headset. And when I went into looking at a game for Vive, and it said, we literally do not have any recommendations for you right now because you have not played any games of this type. So I think that's interesting that, like, I didn't realize that was something that they were actually, like, doing until that, like, I saw that. So I know that they must have something similar to that already, but I'm guessing they're now trying to have, like, a new engine that's backing that recommendation system for, you know, all of their users.
I mean, if that's basically, though, all they're going to offer, if they can't help out the developers with giving them some kind of incentive to use them, I don't see them lasting too much longer. Like you said earlier, you know, Epic's kind of pulling off some developers right now in general and companies to go to them. I mean, I can only imagine what, you know, with Discord coming up and just other mini platforms that they can go off onto where that's going to lead them.
Right, because like a couple of years ago, like you had to be on Steam to release anything. Like you weren't even taken seriously, really, if you couldn't release anything on Steam. It was kind of like, oh, like a lot of indie developers kind of felt like they didn't even get like that recognition that they wanted to have. Like if you saw a game and you were like, oh, I have to download it from a website, like that doesn't sound, legit. Like I might as well just play something else on Steam.
But I know that Steam announced something more or less on the lines of they're actually trying to create something new. But I'm not sure. They didn't really specify what it was. They're kind of hush-hush about the whole thing. So I'm kind of interested what they have to say.
Yeah, I feel like they really have to revamp Steam, just the whole platform itself, because I know that with them taking 30% of all sales, like Ubisoft's already made the jump already. Like it hasn't even been a couple of weeks and they've already moved their entire inventory of games over to Epic Games Store. So I can't imagine they've got that much time left to really come out with some new updates.
Well, they have to now. They really do have to. They're forced to. They're forced to revamp their whole setup, because if you truly think about it, they're going to be losing stocks like crazy. The stock for Steam is going to go completely down. I mean,
right?
Valve in general.
Right, that they're making a lot of their sales, like the money, a lot of Steam's income in Valve. Like the income comes from all these, AAA game titles that are being sold on Steam. Like that's where a lot of the revenues comes in, and if they can't have those games on their platform anymore, I mean,
if one big company already jumped ship, what's going to stop other ones?
It could happen any day now that there could be another announcement of another big game company.
To be honest, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for someone else to say, hey, this trend is probably going to start picking up really soon. Either that or companies are going to start doing their own thing. They're going to start coming out with free-to-play games or their own mini platform. I mean, I think Steam's really not looking too good right now, but I mean... They keep on saying that there's something on the horizon, but I'm interested to see what it is, because if they don't do something fast and even figure out a way to, stop being so greedy and taking less of a cut, then I think it's going to be curtains for Steam.
Right. I can't even imagine how they would change their business model now. Like if they change their income percentage of their percentage of their cut.
I mean, that would be a start.
But if they cut that back, that they now have to probably let go of a ton of projects or things that they're working on.
But I mean,
or I don't know, a lot of their staff, I'm going to say that there are a lot of features that they probably are planning in the future. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel like that Valve has really done much in the way of game releases.
Maybe that's something we need to look into, because to be honest, I really don't know too much about what Valve is doing.
I don't think they've come out with Portal 2, I think, and that was probably the last game. I know they've got Dota that they're maintaining constantly, but to be honest, I don't think that they're even planning on a new release. There hasn't been any word, as far as I know, for Portal 3. Everyone would be down for Portal 3, or
no, even if they did that though, that might even bring the stocks back up. Even an announcement that Portal 3 and or Half-Life 3 is going to come out. I mean, just imagine that sheer people come back to on the side, I guess, of Valve in general. I mean, you need
right. I don't think that anyone's going to uninstall Steam just because there's no games they play on.
That's because I'm with friends. Games. I mean, I have hundreds of games in Steam. That means I'm just thinking about other means of buying games, because if you think about it, people are going to be selling it for cheaper prices. I mean, look at Humble Bundle. I understand that, they have just as good as sales as Steam does, but they do something that Steam doesn't do, and that's they put a crap ton of older-ish games in a bundle, and they say, hey, here's $12 for a month, you get all these games, have fun with it, kind of thing. And that's something you can't beat. I mean, $12 for if I remember correctly, this month's is The Division, which is it's not super expensive game as it is, but it was a big game when it came out, and the game is still people play it. You know what I mean? Still relevant. So Steam needs to do something. It's bad.
Right. If Steam started releasing, maybe that's what they're working towards. They've got Team Fortress 2, they've got Dota 2, they've got Portal 2, Half-Life 2.
You think microtransactions for Team Fortress 2?
Right. Like, what are they going to do with microtransactions? Or are they going to come out with complete the trilogies of their games? But, I mean, there hasn't been anything confirmed, obviously, but I would love to start seeing some of the third, installment to their series kind of start coming out. Like, I feel like that would definitely bring them back a lot more revenue, maybe get them back on their feet again to, like, start trying something new. Like,
make
they need
more money somehow, and you can cut money somewhere else. So
they're going to have
maybe
to stop
they'll
relying
do
on other games.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Who knows, man? The sky's the limit. And then that, and just the announcement of other companies hopping on the Netflix of gaming theme that's going on. We have, like, if I remember correctly, it's like Verizon. They have Amazon, Google. Like, all these companies are now starting to do this whole game streaming thing. It's crazy, because we used to be able to do Redbox, and then they had GameFly for a while, right? GameFly was a thing,
right? I remember that.
Never really did it, but I mean, if you think about it, you just sit at home, be lazy, and you're like, dude, I want to try this game out for a day or two. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think they need to start doing that with movies too, in the movie theater, because, to be honest, paying the amount of money to see a movie in the movie theater blows my mind. But having it go
it's almost
to the home,
cost of a subscription to Netflix.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's an old solution. I mean, it's an old thing. Like, they need to revamp it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
like, I understand the date night idea of going out to go and see a movie. That's where the money comes in, and obviously the staff and all that stuff you pay for. But, like, this day and age, people want their stuff now. They don't want to wait. They don't want to go and sit and try to wait and get tickets if they get sold out to go see a Marvel movie. Not all the time. I mean, I would like to see more movie.
Everyone's
with my friends
had that
out
happen
there,
to them once. They've, you don't go to show up to the movie on time, sold out. Like, if you, why would I go out and risk maybe selling out or getting a bad seat if I could just sit at home, have a good seat?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you think about it, that's a fantastic model for Verizon. Like, that's shocking to me. Verizon, Google I can see, and Amazon I can see. That doesn't blow my mind, but Verizon really blew my mind. It just makes me think that any tech company is going to try to dive into the market of video games, because the video games is such a huge industry, absolutely huge, and it's only growing bigger by the minute. Like, it's already a huge entity. Like, think about it. And the esports scene is growing constantly. I think there was a projection for it to be almost worth a $1 billion industry, just esports alone. And that's so crazy. That's like just think, with like in gambling, man, gambling. Think about that. Like, people gamble on football, actual sports matches. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like soccer or football. I'm sorry, whatever, however you want to say it. American football, and then think just amount of money they can make from like gaming, because it's everywhere, man, everywhere. Like, look at Ninja. He's been on Ellen. He's been on countless like I don't even know what is the cool shows anymore. And Jimmy Fallon, like any Tonight Show, he's been on it. Like, he's just everywhere. Gaming is literally everywhere. I've seen like a Tim Tatman commercial about a few different things, like everywhere. And people, I think companies are really starting to understand that, like tech companies. Right. And I think it's also just a lot of people that grew up playing video games are now part of those, that's a really good marketing teams that are making those decisions. Yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, our parents didn't really grow up. I mean, some of them, granted, they did. I grew up playing Atari, and that's what I'm saying. Though. Like, but it wasn't that much of a time spending doing that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, our like kids that are 20, 21, 22, 23, they're doing their own startups. They're making their way into the corporations of the world. And they're actually being like, you know what is a good industry to get into is gaming. And that's a great point. I mean, that is probably what is happening. And speaking on getting into gaming, we also have this other article of news with an Overwatch player pretending to be a girl to get onto an esports team. Yeah, so
what happened is that there was a lot of like skeptics out there, a lot of like skepticism out there about Ellie. Yeah. So there's a lot of skepticism of Ellie and who this person was, because there was no like face cam, there wasn't any picture of who it was. It was just kind of like an anime avatar, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone was kind of skeptic at first, but I was like, okay, who am I to really judge right now? It was kind of very low level trolling. And then once Ellie got accepted onto Second Wind, which is an esports team, that's kind of when a lot of the, skepticism and, trolls started coming in, just saying like, hey, this girl can't be on, a gaming team, because that's like kind of like one of the first.
Why can't she be? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the rules.
So I think currently right now there haven't been any esports team, like professional esports teams that compete with any female players.
But why? Are they just saying that they can't play to the level of men? Is that just because that's just sexism?
So currently, with like kind of what I've seen, just like by looking at it, they say that there's just the proportion of guys that are into gaming that it's kind of like they kind of outweigh the amount of girls that play the games, and it's just easier for them to like, I don't know, there's like kind of a toxicity around like girls that are in gaming. Like if you hear a girl in chat, all of a sudden everyone's talking to the girl and like, or either trolling her or something. So like maybe she doesn't get that same
kind of gameplay. In my opinion, that's, it's unfair,
Right, I do believe that there is some kind of unfair treatment, but I don't know as to why there aren't any girls, females in esports right now. I think it's just that the level of gameplay that a lot of the males are at just have currently outweighed females. But so this guy that was pretending to be Ellie got onto Second Wind, and that's when a lot of people started like really guessing like, hey, is this actually like a fake person? Because we haven't seen any picture. Like their whole roster, they've got pictures of everybody. They got, pictures of them, their actual name, who these people are, kind of stuff about them. And there was nothing about Ellie.
Has this dude talked in chat? He was like, hey, because you got to do, if it's his Overwatch, you have to do call outs. Like that's.
Yeah, I think that
has he played with them? Like, did he scrimmage with them? Because if he did, I'm pretty sure they would know right away. Did you ever see the movie Dodgeball? Have you ever seen the movie Dodgeball?
I have seen Dodgeball. It's been.
Do you remember the part where they're playing dodgeball against the Girl Scout team, and they're like, "Well, they got disqualified because they found beaver tranquilizer in someone," and the one girl goes, "God damn it, Bernice!" And then there's like a man-looking girl, and he's like, "You ever see that?"
Right.
That's what I'm envisioning right now.
So the thing was like Ellie joined the team, and then within like a week or two, instantly said that she stepped back and was because of it was because of all the trolling. Like, oh hey, this is too much for me. And then not even till then suddenly it was like a ton of news articles picked this up and said, hey, this female player was being harassed. She didn't want to release her information about herself, just because of all the people that were trolling her, and she just wanted to be taken seriously as a gamer. But then it came out that it was actually a top tier Overwatch player who was just trying to get on the esports team. And he said, yeah, and he was just trying to do this as a social experiment to see if maybe he could actually get picked up by a esports team if he had just tried to be a girl.
But that's the question: was it a social experiment?
That's what he says, because there was a lot of like you said, how did the call outs and stuff, how did he get through that? Is that he actually had some female friends that played Overwatch that they knew about the game, the mechanics, the terminology. And he had them kind of
I need to read this article because I'm so confused. So many questions I have.
It just there was one twist after another. This female gamer out of nowhere comes and just joins this esports team, suddenly leaves.
I know you said it 6 times, but go on.
And then suddenly it wasn't even a girl to begin with. So there was just so many twists of the story that each part in its own could have been its own story, but just trying to summarize it.
Well, let's put it this way. If it was a social experiment, I understand why the social experiment was done in the first place. I guess that women get treated unfairly one way or another. I mean, I don't know if they get held in a different tier than males do, but they should be treated as equal. Whoever deserves that spot or that part of the roster should be on that team. regardless of gender. Like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I don't think that there are any rules currently out there that disqualify females from actually joining esports team. Like,
yeah,
I think that's one of the benefits of esports in general, is that it doesn't matter like who you are. It's just a matter how good are you at the game. And if there are females that are more skilled than male players, I'm sure they will.
And that's great
in
the sense that this came out. Because if this didn't happen, then maybe it wouldn't have shed light. I mean, I don't know the entire article. I didn't read the article. Obviously, you were the one that brought this to light. But if it were the case that he was doing this social experiment, it does shed light on the fact that they are treated a little unfairly. If I remember correctly, the article stated that he tried to apply for this esports team, but got denied.
I think it was just other esports. Like, it wasn't just that one. It was just like
just
he
esports
was
in general?
top tier Overwatch player just trying to join an esports team, and obviously that was just very hard for him.
I have to read more about this article. It's actually really interesting, but I don't know.
Right, he wasn't making onto esports teams, and he said, "Hey, if I was a girl, do you think I would have a better chance?" Like, and then sure enough, he got picked up instantly.
I think that the punishment should be that he has to dress as a woman and play on an Overwatch team and do call-outs in a woman's voice. I'd love to hear that, you know.
If he ever
Mercy's
does join.
up top. What was that? Right. I'm sorry, that was my terrible woman voice. I apologize. It's not very good.
You had me fooled, Pescador.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Rad Gaming Podcast.
Be sure to check out our audio podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. We release new episodes every week, so be sure to stay tuned.
And as always, stay rad, comrades.